Hey everybody, welcome. It's Gene Marks, and I am here with Rui Biscaia. By the way, Rui, did I pronounce your last name right? Biscaia?
That's perfect. That's perfect, Gene.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, it didn't seem as hard as it might read to be, but Rui is the VP, the Vice President of Product Platform and Product-Led Growth at Talkdesk. So first of all, Rui, thank you so much for taking some time to talk to me. We were going to talk about customer service and small business customer service and a whole bunch of other topics, but I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. So thanks for being here.
No, I thank you for taking the time and allow me to be here. I mean, happy to have these conversations about CX at all time.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. So first of all, I mean, before we start digging into it, let's at least give our audience some context as to why you and I are talking and where you're coming from. So, first of all, tell us a little bit about your job at Talkdesk and how you ultimately landed there.
Yeah. So, man, I live in Portugal, so I'm a Portuguese, from this side of the ocean in Europe, and I landed in Talkdesk. I don't know, like 6 years ago, 5 years ago, and from there, my passion has been product all along. So, building products from scratch, making sure that it has self-service built into it. I'm a VP of product here at Talkdesk at this point, and I have I have two jobs named mostly. So one of which is making sure that I run everything that is related to platforms. So scalability, resilience, the ability to integrate with third-party systems, the ability to have billing done in the right way, to have integrations done in the right way, to have APIs capable to integrate with those systems and so forth, and have a data platform for us to leverage that data. So that's one part of my job. The other part of my job, which I love, is this product-led growth approach. So the idea is that you have ways, shapes, and forms to have product be made available to users and have users be as self-sufficient as possible in order to leverage the product to tackle whatever their needs they have.
It's fascinating. All of these different things that you would expect from a CX application in 2025. I mean, it's relatively new. I mean, how has the world sort of changed in CX for you over just the past 5, 6 years?
Oh man, it's changed a lot, right? I
Yeah.
mean, everyone talks about AI and everyone talks about how AI is revolutionizing and making things in a different way or allowing us to do things in a different way. But let's go back a little bit. Let's talk
Okay.
about, the idea that, in CX you still are in some cases looking into customer experience as a cost center in that sense, and how do you turn that idea into I wouldn't say a profit center, but a growth center. So something that works for you and not something that you just need to have in order to be in business. Okay. So the way that you do that is by understanding with whom you're interacting with. So the personalization, making sure that you understand the needs, the asks, the persona with whom you're talking to, so that you can be as proficient as possible in addressing and tackling his or her needs. The speed that you have, that you can in doing so, right? The speed and ability for you to understand and even hopefully proactively understand how you can address those needs. So back in the days, there was no personalization. Back in the days, there was no speed. No, it was all by reactive, not proactive engagement in that sense. And there was no AI. So you did have to have a workforce, a substantial workforce, in order to make sure that you cover all of those angles, all of those entry points. I'm talking about different channels. I'm talking about different products and services, or differentiate product and services that you were using, that you were providing. So all of that has changed. And CX right now, and the customer service, customer support, or custom automation experience, if you will. It's something that basically allows you, or demands that you have that proactiveness, that you understand with whom you're talking to, that when the person calls in, or when the person dials in, or the person emails you or slacks you or whatever, you actually understand, who that person is and what is the history that you have with that person. You need to do it fast, and you need to make sure to understand at the split of a second all of that history, and whatever is asked of you, you can actually automatically make it to, address or tackle the concern, the ask, the whatever. So by integrating with third-party systems under the covers, and you need to do it in a way that is also cost effective to you. So basically, if you imply AI, you're automatically making sure that you don't need that substantial workforce. So that profit, that cost center for you, it's actually turning into a profit center, because it's making things a lot cheaper and a lot faster and a lot reliable to you. Does that make
All right.
sense?
Yeah, it does. It does make a lot of sense. We keep dancing around the topic of AI. It was a question I was going to ask a little bit later in the conversation, but I feel like diving into it right now. I'm sensing this backlash with AI. I'm
Yeah.
sensing some companies. I mean, for the past couple of years, and I write about this in Forbes, like 6 to 8 times a month, and I've been covering a lot of larger companies that have been building in, AI models into their and customer service has been a big focus of AI over the past few years, as you know. And now what I'm seeing and what I'm reporting on is some of these larger companies are starting to pull things back a little bit. Like it's like as usual as human beings, they overdid it, they overstepped it. Like they thought that AI could do everything when it turns out that people still need to talk to people when they want some of their problems, answered. How are you addressing that? Is that a concern for you as somebody who's
It is. It
leading
is.
product?
It is. It is, Gene, for sure. So, when AI came about, like you said, everyone was thinking, well, this is going to solve all our problems. This is
Right.
just like just add water into it and that's it, right? It works and solves everything. It's not really the case, and you need to make sure that whenever you're implementing and you're deploying AI services and systems into your customer experience workflows, you need to understand exactly what is the use case that you're addressing. That's one. Two, what is the benefit? Is it actually moving the needle by automating that use case, right?
Right.
So there might be a couple of use cases that are just important, but are really not moving the needle. There's some of them are really, powerful in the sense that if you can automate those things, you can actually achieve a more personalization, a more speed to address the concern and whatnot. But again, every single customer with whom I've worked with in implementing AI has led to this. Okay, look, Talkdesk, I need a contact center service. AI is a second derivative. AI is the second thing that I will deal in phase two, if you will. And we're
Sure.
trying to shift that into making sure that it doesn't become an afterthought. It becomes something that you can actually deploy. Now, you need to be careful to your point, which is don't just try to boil the ocean, to start with. Just understand what are the 3, 4 use cases that actually can move the needle for you and start there, making sure that you do the prep work, that you understand exactly how is it that what are your processes, your workflows to actually move those need to address those use cases and move the needle, and then try to automate. Don't try to boil the ocean at once. Do it slow, but really don't think as AI as an afterthought. Think as AI as something that you could start, and you should start from the beginning of your CX workflows and implementations.
Yeah, I love that. It's funny. There's this tipping point where you hit like I'm the guy that calls up a customer service desk, and immediately when I hear like a robotic voice, I start hitting zero. Because I want to talk to a human being. and and yet as consumers, we all we know that there's a lot of stuff that can be solved through automation, and that a bot can solve for us. For somebody like yourself who's providing customer service applications, I'm assuming your goal is to try and automate as much as possible. Like you don't want somebody like me just hitting zero and having to talk to a person every single time when I'm not I'm not, what's the word for it? Like, I should be able to take a deep breath and say, why don't I just walk myself through and have
But Gene,
automation solve my problem?
But Gene, you're absolutely right. But let's focus on AI. AI is a big thing, right?
Yeah.
Let's go back and understand examples of the application of AI into a contact center. Everyone thinks about the bot.
Yeah.
Let's park that for a second, okay?
Okay.
What if you could automate the fact that you don't have to press one for this, press two for that, press three for that, press four for that, right? Well, what if you could automate that? That is something that is just reasoning with what you're saying. So basically, it prompts you, "Hey, Gene, why are you talking? What is it that we can help you with?" And then you say, "Hey, I need assistance in rebooking this, or I need assistance in doing that," and blah blah blah.
Sure.
And basically, if you could automate all of those asks, fine. But let's assume that you cannot. But just by removing the fact that you need to deal with an IVR, and you're actually just reasoning with the fact that the user is talking to you. We call it Talkdesk front desk, right? Which is just a front desk for you that are calling in via voice, or you just interacting via digital channels with Talkdesk, right? So that's one. Two, leaving again the autopilot aside, what if you're talking to a person, to an agent, right? And that agent has at the tip of his or her hands all the information that he or she needs to understand and reason with what you're saying. So you're really talking to a person, but you're leveraging AI in the background. Now, you may not see it, but you're actually leveraging AI in the background to give you context. Hey, this person called several times
Yeah.
last month. The reason why this person called was this. By the way, from the moment by interpreting the speech, by having transcriptions on what you say, it will automatically pop up articles that will help the agent better address, and even clicks and call to actions for the agent better address the concerns and the remarks that you're saying.
Tell you, Rui, I think you're hitting it right on the head. So right now, like for example, like the CEO of LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
Raslansky, just came out this week saying that people on LinkedIn are not using LinkedIn's AI writing assistant anywhere near how he thought they would be using it, like to the level they'd be using it. They're not using it as much. And the reason why is because on LinkedIn, I mean, people are smarter than we all give each other credit for. Like you can tell when something is written by AI, and LinkedIn in
Yeah.
particular, it's all about being yourself and being transparent and being real. And when people sense that something's been written with an AI assistant, it's a hit to to sort of your reputation as it is, and your
Yeah.
credibility. And he's finding this out like in the real world. When I call up a customer service desk and I I can pretty much tell, and I don't know how advanced the technology will be, but I can tell pretty quickly when it's a bot that I'm talking to. I mean, I called up
Yes.
Marriott recently to give like get a confirmation number or whatever, and like all I had to do was start talking fast or in a roundabout sort of way, and it just confused the whole system, and they just sent me to a human being. And the only reason I tell you that story is because your point is it's like spot on. Like I think that where AI will go with customer service is that you're still going to need the live agent, but they will be just complemented and held up and supported by
Exactly.
right by like they'll be giving them the things to say, the scripts to say. They'll be giving them the information that they need. So I'm talking to you as a live person so I can connect with you, but you've got more information real time at your disposal to like
Absolutely.
give me answers quickly, right?
And Eugene, as a caller, as a contact, as a person that is contacting the customer service,
Yeah.
you don't really have visibility into this. But the agent, the person that is using the contact center service and system, actually has all this self-helpers and tutorials and tweaks and call to actions and stuff that he or she could do in order to make his life easier. Now, make no mistake. The idea is to have decreased average handle time. The idea is to work on first call resolution. I mean, that's the whole point of the process is to become more more expedite, be able to expedite that call or that interaction as fast as we can
Sure.
in a successful way. But the idea is that when we talk about AI, it's not just about the bot, right? It's really not just about the bot. The bot is a fundamental, don't get me wrong, it's a fundamental
Sure.
um, exercise into that AI, but it's not just that. It's how is it that you allow, for example, translation. So when you're talking with someone that has speaks a different language than you,
Yeah.
right? And you allow automatically instantaneous translation of that either by digital or by voice, so that even if you don't speak the language of that person, you can actually have an instantaneous conversation with that person just by having the AI repeat whatever you just said or whatever the person
Perfect
just said to
example.
you into its own language.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is a perfect example where like you still have that same human. You've got maybe, an American speaking English in a call center in Kansas City taking a call from somebody that's a Spanish speaker. The American
Yes.
person can actually now understand what they're saying because of AI. And actually when they talk back, it gets translated back into Spanish for that Spanish customer. So now instead of a business having to hire different people with different skill sets or different language capabilities, like you said, AI can make up for stuff like that. It's fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's fascinating about all this really is just that it's so new. Like it just, I mean, ChatGPT was what the end of 2022 when it really hit the public, and
Yeah.
you and I were talking, it's like 2025. I mean, it's like a blip on the scale of time. And we're all just trying to get our arms around like how will this stuff really be work. So whenever I see these reports of like, oh, AI is gonna a billion jobs are going to be replaced by AI or everything's going to be done by robots and there'll be nothing, for human. I don't think anybody has any idea how AI is going to be impacting ourselves, particularly in the customer service world, until we just kind of start using it and figuring out the best practices for it. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I mean, everyone will tell you, or a lot of people will tell you, it's going to happen this, it's going to happen this. I mean, the truth is, no one knows, right? I mean, we're going to
Yeah.
go with the flow and we're going to try to understand how to best leverage AI in that sense. I've given you a couple of examples that, again, excludes the bot, excludes the automatic robotic, if you will, person that is talking to you or interacting with you. But the idea is that we can experiment more and more. So, what if you use AI to detect fakes? Right? When someone calls in to try to exfiltrate data and so forth, and you use AI to actually counter the fact that they're using AI to produce those fakes, right? That's another one. Another one has to do, for example, with mood detector, which is understanding the mood. How is this person, in terms of mood talking to you? Is this person angry? Is this person not angry? And then depending on that mood detection, you can actually adapt the script of the agent that is talking to you or interacting with you in a different way. So there are those types of personalizations that you can actually do by leveraging that AI. Okay.
And another thing also, I mean, I think what we've learned is that so many things are generational as well and cultural and like for example, when Amazon came out with the Kindle, I thought that was it. Like the book industry is dead. You're never going to see another bookshop again, and honestly nowadays like I go to like a Barnes and Noble. I'm in Philadelphia. I go to like a Barnes and Noble, on the weekend. There's like tons of people in there, young people like in their 20s that are sitting there reading actual books, rather than something on an electronic device. And the reason is because there will always be people that want to get their information in a certain way. And I kind of feel that that translates into customer experience as well. Like if I am calling a call desk and I'm given the option to talk to a bot, saying if you speak to Susan or AI robot, you have a X% possibility of getting your question that much quicker answered. I might choose that because that's the way I want to get my information. But then again, maybe I'm the kind of guy that's like, no, no, no. I just want to speak to a human. I don't care. And maybe that's what the solution is that we start giving people more choice as to when the users, the customers want to use AI and when they choose to just use humans.
That's also personalization, right, Gene? I mean, that
Yeah.
gives the option to the person with whom you're interacting to discuss that conversation, to have a conversation with a person, with an agent,
Right.
right, and have that fallback, right? I mean, the reason why we are automating these things, yes, it's because of cost, yes, it's because of speed, yes, it's because of personalization and so forth. But you can also have that using different types of AI. Again, it's not just the bot. The bot is a fundamental part of that, but you can actually give options to the person. And one of the fundamental things that we've done here at Talkdesk is there's always a fallback. There's always a fallback to actually for you to be able to talk to a person. I mean, if the bot is unable to address your question or a concern, or if you have the desire to actually press this or say something and then it will automatically default into a live agent and so forth. So you always have that option. But I agree with you. Giving options to those callers also means that you're making their experience a lot better. And if that is
Absolutely.
someone that does not like or has had bad experiences in the past for whatever reason by talking to bots or whatnot, let's make sure that we give that person the option to talk to an agent, right, and have that agent address that concern. I've seen situations, Gene, in which the sole metric was not about average handle time. The sole metric was about satisfaction.
Yeah.
I don't care how much time it took for that interaction to last. The sole metric was all about how is it that I can make the experience of this person, when you're talking about premium brands, when you're talking about, a high touch type of engagements and whatnot, you actually have that. And then that is not about automating. That is about the ability, well, it's about automating, but in the background, but it's about giving a personalized interaction capability and interface to that caller or to that person that is interacting with you. And that means that you feel that you're being heard, right? You feel that you have
Yep.
someone there that is actually looking into you and so forth. And isn't it great when you call in and say, "Hey, Gene, you called us last week. Was that thing settled? Was
100%.
everything okay? Do you still have issues and so forth?" Or even proactively saying, "Hey, Gene, look, what about the thing that you asked about last week? Is that taken care of? I mean, I'm here for you and so forth." Okay.
I like that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's pivot a little bit. So, Rui, Talkdesk, well known, very powerful. the platform that has been used really as sort of like an enterprise level. It's been for larger companies. That's been the company's history. I mean, obviously there are some small and mid-sized businesses that have taken advantage of the platform, but that's where the focus has been. But now we have Talkdesk Express, right? And
Mhm.
that's being rolled out and introduced, and it's targeted at small businesses, which is a different market, I mean, that
Yep.
and a different animal altogether. Talk to me why. Why is the company doing this?
Gene, I think, if I were to say, I think Talkdesk is coming full circle. Okay. In the sense that we've started in that automation. If I remember, we had a billboard saying contact center in 5 minutes. That was the
Yeah.
first billboard that we had at the time, right? Then we moved into the enterprise that has the need to adapt and to customize the experience to your needs and whatnot. Express is coming back to basics and say, how can I leverage AI, and how can I make sure that I allow the small and medium sized businesses to also, can I say that, play in the big leagues,
Yeah.
right? Using the same weapons, the same features and capabilities that a big enterprise would use when they are dealing with customer experience, but allow that to be used by a small and medium sized business that don't have the manpower. They don't have a workforce. They don't have the ability to have a budget, the same size and shape as a big brand, but they also need to have that personalized touch. They also need to have that customization. They also need to have that ability to address and tackle the needs in a timely fashion and whatnot. So Express is a way for you to allow that big brands tools and features and capabilities to be put in the hands of an SMB. And how do we do that? You make sure that you have an out of the box offer. You make sure that you have something that just works out of the box. You click a button and the thing is just working. It will give you self helpers. It will give you wizards. It will give you tutorials. It will give you automation. It will give you all of that out of the box. And the goodness is that you can actually adapt that to your needs later on. I mean, it will work as a default configuration, but if you want to customize it to your need, it's not a different product. It's Talkdesk all along. It's just it has automation built into it.
I experienced the same thing. I mean, I set it up for my company. As part of this, I've been doing a bunch of stuff with Talk Test. So, I mean, I'd like to eat the dog food, and set it up for my company. And you're right. I mean, it sets up very automatically. I don't want to sugarcoat it though. I mean, there's, one thing that business owners, I feel like they don't realize is that when you're dealing with technology like TalkDesk, and it's a powerful platform, but with great power comes great responsibility
Yes.
and also great investment. You don't just hit a button and all of a sudden you've got like a full scale customer service platform going. You do have to take some time. I do believe you have to have somebody in your company that is going to really get their arms around the system so that they can get it up and running, make sure that it is customized with the available tools to make sure that it's operating for the type of
Yeah.
business that you have. And then of course people are people. They're afraid of new technology. They who moved my cheese. They hate change. So somebody's got to coach them along and train them and all of that. I guess my point being is that like I differentiate Talkdesk Express from Enterprise in the sense that any small business can like get it up and running, but really in minutes. You don't need to have like expensive consultants or big projects involving consulting firms to do it. But let's not sugarcoat it. Like you do still have to take the time out to think it through and what you want your processes to be and how you want it to be set up and how your people want to learn it. And I don't know if you can speak to that.
That's absolutely true. That's what we've sensed and what we've seen thus far is that yes, it's automated in the sense that you push a button and the thing works, but it works to an extent that you devote some time understanding and reason with what is it that you want to do with it, right?
Sure.
We have embedded, those helpers and wizards and and app clues and whatnot in order to make sure that we guide you through that motion, but it's not enough. So that's one. You need to devote some time, and for that we've made sure that we have built a community in which that community is for users such as yourself that are in the same spot that you are or were, and that can help you in that. And you also have people like myself and others that are part of that community to help you. So that community is your go-to point when you're I don't know what I don't know, and I don't have time to be schooled. I don't have time to watch a bunch of videos and whatnot. I need to be able to understand, is this able to address my concern right now? And you can
Right.
ask that question, and then other people will explain to you, will explain how to do it, or even us will can do it for you. The more you are actually able to extract value out of Talkdesk Express, the better it is for us. And the idea is that we will grow with you, in the sense that the more you need, the more value you need to extract out of Talkdesk. If Express is the thing that will work it for you, that's fine. If not, you can upgrade into an enterprise edition. But the
Sure.
more that you grow with your need of CX, the more we will be able to tailor it to you. It has all the bells and whistles. We will activate a few of them on the spot, on default. The other ones, we will build it with you in order to make sure that it tackles your needs and concerns.
Um, what types of businesses do you think Talkdesk Express
Hmm.
is most suited for?
We have a myriad of customers already, right?
Hmm.
We have customers that are from the services side of the house, right? So they
Hmm.
are providing services, and all they need is to have a phone system that it basically routes the call to the appropriate representative that is, especially outside or whatever, doing his or her job. So that's one. We have customers that are, for example, in the healthcare business, and what they care about or what they want is to have a 24/7 capability to address concerns, customers, that are calling and that are interacting and that just asking questions. We have customers that are in other parts of the business that, are less familiar, like, web industries that they have.
Right.
I'm sorry, I say that wrong. I said that wrong. Let me
Okay,
say
we can
that
edit it.
again.
We can edit. We can edit.
Yeah. So you have customers that have businesses around bricks and mortar, that they have
Right.
shops, that they have online presences, that they want to connect those two. They want to allow those shops to actually be able to use these systems to actually engage with customers while they are in the shops and there's no one there and whatnot. So the agent of the contact center is actually the person that is in the shop, that
Right.
is also interacting with someone that is on the web trying to interact with you. So web chat, WhatsApp, all of those email messages, SMSs, and whatnot. So we're seeing a lot of these increase coming from people that are saying, I really don't want to do voice. I really want to do digital. I really want to have a way to interact via myriad of digital channels with me, with my customers, and I want to make sure that I have just one person or two people just dealing with that, with those questions.
It's
Now,
great.
the second derivative is they will say, "What about agentic AI? Do
Hmm.
I have a way to, have a bot
Yeah.
replying to this?" And if I may, one of the most interesting things that I've seen, and we talked to this just a while ago, is about AI.
Yeah.
When we ask people, look, I'll need a little bit of you. I need a little bit of knowledge of your company, like a knowledge base, documentation, for me to feed into the AI system of Talkdesk so that it can help you. Not just the bot, but also that replacement of the press one, press two, press three navigator thing, or even the co-pilot and Talkdesk and whatnot. And they're scared. Say, what's a knowledge base? I don't even know what a knowledge base is.
Right.
So basically, we're shifting it and say, give me your website. Just point me to your website, and then we will crawl your website and index the content on the website. And then if nothing else, we will use that to enable AI of Talkdesk. And that's all we need to enable the AI of Talkdesk to actually help you in a better way, help your agents, help your people give better answers or understand better what the person is saying and how to help that, or even help the bot be self-sufficient in addressing those concerns.
It's funny. My company used to sell an IT help desk software called Heat. This was like 1,000 years ago, and there was a knowledge base involved with it. And this is for like internal IT people. So like if you were working at a big company and you had a problem with your device, you would call up the internal IT team. And they would have this knowledge base, and the knowledge base would have to be revise, first of all, created and then edited and updated all the time and make sure that it's current, which is a huge amount of, time taken. And then, if an employee has a problem, they call the help desk, the person's got to go in and start searching around for it, or maybe they send a link and say, here, you can search for it yourself on our knowledge base. It was just like time consuming and unproductive. So to your point, where I see Talkdesk, where I see AI being used in the customer service world is as you're taking in these calls, it's building up this knowledge base, right?
Yes.
So, and it's keeping it updated. It gets smarter and smarter to keep
Yes.
it updated. Just like ChatGPT gets smarter and smarter as the more and more it gets trained, so that when users call in with different problems, I've got a problem with this, or I have an issue with this, or a service problem, whatever, it is literally prompting the customer service agent saying, like immediately finding that problem in the knowledge base, the model, and guiding or coaching the customer service agent to walking the customer through the correct answer.
Yes.
And it's all
Yes.
happening like real time. Does it make sense?
Yes, yes, it does. More than that, it's not only that, it's what we call human in the loop.
Mm,
Having a person in the loop of that AI. So
yeah,
let me give you trying to give you an example.
sure.
When you have someone that is calling in, or several people calling in about the same topic ever over and over again, and there's no content on the website or any knowledge base about that, the system in Talkdesk will tell you, Mr. Supervisor, might be better just to build an article, build something in the knowledge base that will help your agents better address this, or even the autopilot. And it will suggest and draft the thing for you. Of course, it will be an automatically generated article that needs to be reviewed, it needs to be accepted. That's where the human in the loop comes in, which is the thumbs up, thumbs down, in the sense that, yes, I've reviewed this thing, I've made a few tweaks, or I've changed it a little bit, or I've adapted to, a tone that I want to have, and so forth, and then I'll publish it. And that's also where AI can help you build and extend on that knowledge base, on that information that will self-feed itself into the system, so that next time someone calls in, you don't need to have, someone or the system trying to figure out how to address that concern or question.
Great. That is great. Okay, let me give you a real life example. We're running out of time, and I still have a million questions to ask you, but it's fine. I do want to give you a real life example. So I literally have a client of mine. They're like in central Pennsylvania. Again, I'm in Philadelphia. They got about 60 employees, so typical small business. They have three people that do customer service. It's a combination of inside sales and customer service, but they're dealing with orders that come in and responding to questions and giving updates. And their most common call that comes in is, "Where's my order?" You know what I mean? Like, when's it being shipped? But then there's also customer service issues. They do not have Talkdesk or any customer service application or platform. They're basically using like Outlook and spreadsheets. Okay. So, Rui, here's your chance. Pretend that you're talking to me and I'm the owner of this business. Sell me on why I need a good CX platform like Talkdesk. How will that change my business?
So let me tell you this. How long does it take for you to address one of those "where's my order" question? How long on average does it take?
Right, right. And it does, I
So,
mean, it depends, but that's a great question to start with.
okay. So you start there. How long does it take? And then you walk backwards and you say, hey, if you could actually have that automatable, or at least able to be centralized into a
Mm,
repository that can actually work for you better. And you don't need to move away from Outlook. You don't need to move away from spreadsheets. We could connect all of those data sources into the system. You can automatically understand that if Gene is calling and you identify Gene by whatever means, you can pull that information about his or her order. And
sure.
before Gene asks, you can say, "Hey, Gene, nice to meet you. Nice to have a conversation with you. Are you calling about your order? Let me tell you about that." So be proactive about that. And if you're proactive, then you can think about a second derivative. You can say, okay, if the order is being delayed for some reason, right? Why do I not just proactively reach out to Gene? Why do I
Sure.
not just email Gene or Slack Gene or SMS him or whatnot, or whatever channel you want to use, or even call Gene and say, "Hey, Gene, guess what? We had a big of a hiccup into delivery of your order. I'm just letting you know that instead of being delivered on Friday, it's going to be delivered on Monday," or whatnot, or something like that. So if you have all of that automation, it's not just about removing the people out of the equation, is to actually make sure that you're rendering a service that is more personalized, more expeditable, more capable to address the needs. So instead of having Gene call in, hey, where's my order? You can actually forego all of that. And you can actually just make sure that you're proactively telling the person, hey, your order will be there in X amount of days. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, it makes 100% sense. And listen, I'm an accountant, so I'm always thinking of numbers. I like the fact that you're like asking about how much time it takes to, address these kinds of things. I mean, for any business owner that's watching, that's thinking of getting a system, like a Talkdesk Express or frankly any customer service or any
Mm-hmm.
technology platform, there's got to be ROI. And I do think it starts with time because that's tangible, right? And if you can take a little bit of time out and measure how much time it's taking your customer service people to do certain tasks, that when they're automated would eliminate or significantly reduce that time, to me
Exactly.
that right, that justifies the investment in a system like yours. And then that's not even including the intangible costs of just getting back to customers faster and making them more
Yeah.
satisfied and maybe gauging their sentiments or predicting if they're going to buy again or suggesting other products. There's a lot of intangible things that can also happen as well.
Yeah, I didn't want to go into the ROI, but you're absolutely right. So the idea that you can measure how much will it take on average a call like that or
Yeah.
interaction like that, and how much does it cost for a person to be on that, and how much would you benefit? It's a throughput of that agent on a per day basis would actually increase by X by decreasing the average handle time of every single one of those interactions. You can measure all of that. I can give you an example. Couple of years back when we introduced voice biometrics into Talkdesk, and which, by the way, it's also included in Express. Um, the idea is I need to identify who Gene is. So what is it that I know? Typically, I do knowledge-based authentication. Hey, Gene, can I have your social security number? Can I have this? Can I have that? Can et cetera, et cetera. On average, that thing takes like 30 seconds, 45 seconds on average to get all of those knowledge base. And it's
Right.
really not secure, but let's remove all of that from the equation. So if I could shave off, I don't know, 30 seconds,
Yeah.
25 seconds out
Yeah.
of each interaction. Now multiply that by the number of interactions that you have
Yeah.
on a daily basis, that then the
Yeah.
throughput of your system will actually increase, and you'll be not only performing a better service, of course, but you're actually working on your ROI, on your bottom line. And that's something that Talkdesk is, and even Talkdesk Express is actually very keen to understand. That's why when you go into the use cases, it's not about, hey, let's do this, let's do that, let's do that. Let's understand exactly what moves the needle for you. Remember, what
Yeah.
actually moves the needle for you? Is it a cost benefit type of approach, and or is it a better service and a more way for you to have a better service and provide a better service to your customers?
It's a great take, and it's exactly the strategy you should have. And it's funny because you're going to be dealing with, as you get into the small business market, people, like I use that client of mine. It's a small manufacturer, 60 employees. They will spend $1 million on a piece of equipment after a 5 minute conversation because they know they can put that piece of equipment in and generate X dollars of orders within the next few months, and they know what their margins are and they know what the return on investment is. But for a piece of technology, it's so much more difficult to
Yes.
calculate that return on investment. So because they can't get their arms around it. But if you do put it in the basis of time that's being saved, let alone all the indirect benefits, it definitely crystallizes the amount of money that a person can be made for investing in something like this. Okay. A couple minutes left to go. You and I are having this conversation. It's 2025. I'm not even going to ask you to project. I have very little patience for futurists because I don't even know what I'm having for lunch tomorrow, let alone what the world's going to be like 20 years from now. But I'll push it forward maybe 5 years from now. Maybe that's even too far, but you're still taught us, you're still developing products. What do you think your product's going to look like
Ah,
5 years from now?
interesting. Like as a product manager, our head is always in the future, right?
I
You
was
know,
going to
when
say,
you
this
when
is, I mean, you got to be thinking about this all the time, right?
yes. So we've just released something that we believe is the future. We call it, customer experience automation. And the idea is that, and it's not just about the automation. The name could be a little bit deceiving. It's not about just the automation. It's the underlying capabilities that are very interesting. How can you have a 360 view of data from from whomever you're interacting with? So it's not just about your customer service engagement interface, but it's also about all the other touch points that you have when you're talking to your prospects, when you're talking to your leads, when you're talking to your customers, when you're talking to this and so forth. You will be able to trust Talkdesk to be that to be that interaction platform, that ability to have a 360 view of that, and then have actions and workflows that capability. Having said that, those workflows will not be just managed by Talkdesk. We will be able to connect to different other systems, like other systems will be able to connect to us. And that interface of connectivity that it's called, in technical terms, MCPs and agent to agent and AI agent to AI agent communications and so forth, that will enable the systems to communicate themselves without having to have, APIs being coded here and there and whatnot. So when you have systems that can talk to other systems in an intelligent way without needing people in the middle to actually connect them, because they know that they have an interface that can talk to this other interface. And when you have the data underneath that will sustain that interactivity with that person that is interacted, that is calling you or emailing you or interacting with you, then that is where Talkdesk sees itself. So it's not just the customer service, it's all the connectivity that surrounds the person with whom you're interacting using those technologies underneath.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I think we can imagine all these like wonderful things that, AI and technology will do for us. But I mean, let's face it, man, you and I have been doing this for a while. And, I go to every client, all of our data is just so siloed in individual
Yes.
islands, and you've got talk this data in that platform. Maybe you've got a CRM system, you've got an accounting system, an ERP system, your order entry, and then you've got data outside of the company, right? Like you just said, like, your supplier's system that you're ordering from every week, or your customer systems, or, your freight, and shipping
Yes.
logistics systems that you rely on. To me, I think like the holy grail is exactly what you're saying. When these systems can all actually talk to each other, so that you have that 360-degree view of
Yes.
that customer.
So
I
you're
don't know.
not so you're not actually, if you can get yourself out of the question, hey, can I get your data? Send me your data, give me your data. So when you pass that and you say, I don't need to have access to your data directly. What I need is to be able to connect to that system that has access to your data.
Right.
And if I can able to connect to that system and I can able to instruct that system to do a certain workflow, right? Then you really don't need that data internally. All you need is to have access to the data to actually act upon it, and that's a different mentality. That's where Talkdesk is seeing itself in the very near future.
I think it's also generational. I think people my age, we're so not used to the privacy and confidentiality and, all that stuff. And, you have to realize, right? I mean, like I just came back from overseas over the weekend, and, you go through global entry when you come into the U.S. immigration. I don't know if you've tried this or not or do it, but if you don't even use your passport anymore. It's all facial recognition. They just know you
Yeah.
and they check you off. And like, I get it. Some people have issues with that. I don't have any issue with that because I just go through immigration in a second. But I think younger generations are so used to that now. They're so whatever that the people now that are in their, late teens or early 20s, by the time they start maturing and getting into management positions in companies, they'll be so much more open to just having their data shared everywhere because it just makes life that much easier. And I
There
wonder if that'll
is,
be the
there
tipping point.
is, yeah, absolutely. There is this concept of decentralized identity. And
Yeah.
decentralized identity, it's a big name, but what it does is I own my identity. I can share that identity with company A, company B, company three, institution three, whatever, for the time being that that entity needs and requires my data for me to have a contract with that or an interaction or an engagement with that. And I can revoke that capability. So that's
Right.
something, think of it like this. Think of it, I don't own your data. I have access to your data while I need that data. And that's also something that it was could be worthwhile exploring. And that's something that Talkdesk is looking into also. Okay.
Rui Biscaia is the Vice President of Product Platform and Product-Led Growth at Talkdesk. We have been talking about AI, Talkdesk as an enterprise application, and Talkdesk Express, which is targeted at small businesses, and all the great things that it is doing now and we expect it to do in the future. Rui, I had a great time. Still didn't get to all the questions I had for you. Someday we'll talk again, but I really appreciate you taking the time. I learned a lot. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you very much.